3 visitors arrived outside Abraham's tent. They came with a message. 1 year from this day, Abraham would have a son. Sarah, listening from the entrance of the tent, couldn't help herself. She laughed. After all, Abraham had been telling her of this promise for more than 20 years. He believed and waited for the promise to be fulfilled. But still, 20 years is a long time to wait, especially when you're both already old. When, apart from an act of God, having a child would be impossible. Still, even if she doubted, Abraham believed. And God proved Abraham's faith was well-founded when, a year from that day, Sarah gave birth to a son, Isaac. He was their delight, their joy. For years, their lives were filled with the sound of his laughter, until one day, God spoke to Abraham again. "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love. Go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering." Sacrifice Isaac, his son, his beloved son, the child he and Sarah waited more than 20 years for, the son God had promised? Questions raced through Abraham's mind with no answers. But Abraham believed in the promise. He trusted his God who had been faithful to him. If God had given Abraham this child, surely he could give him back again. So he went. Abraham believed, as he had done for so many years, and by faith he obeyed. He saddled his donkey, split the wood he needed, and traveled to Moriah. There at the foot of the mountain, he laid the wood on Isaac's back for him to carry. As the two walked together, Isaac asked, "Where is the lamb?" Abraham answered, "God will provide the lamb." He believed, and by faith he obeyed. He believed as he built the altar and arranged the wood, as he bound Isaac and placed him upon it, as he took the knife in his hand and raised it in the air to kill his son, his only son, the son he loved. Abraham trusted God would provide the lamb. And as the knife was about to come down, a voice, the angel of the Lord, called out to stay his hand. All of it was by faith. But not Abraham's faith alone. Isaac's as well. Isaac loved his father and obeyed his father's command to follow and carry the wood up the mountain. He allowed his father to bind him and place him on the altar. He watched as his father raised the knife. All that he did was by faith, trusting that God would fulfill the promise made to his father. Isaac believed, and by faith he obeyed. And God proved their faith was well-founded, because there in the thicket was a ram, a sacrifice provided in Isaac's place, a sacrifice that echoed of another to come, the sacrifice that the command to kill Isaac hinted at, when a father would send his son, his only son, the son he loves, a son who, out of love for his father, would perfectly obey all his father's commands, a son who would carry the wood on his back to the place of his sacrifice, a son who would be placed on a different altar, and no one would stay the hand of the one offering the sacrifice, a son who humbled himself, even to the point of death, a son who was the Lamb, Jesus, the Lamb who takes the sins of the world, the Lamb who calls us to believe in him, to trust in him as our hope, to, by faith, stop trying to earn the impossible and believe that the gift of his righteousness is enough to welcome us into his kingdom and his family, to be his witnesses, to share the message that the promise God made to Abraham is fulfilled in him, and salvation is offered through his life, death, and resurrection. To make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey all he commands until the day he returns, the day when all the promises of God are fulfilled and he makes all things new. In him we believe. By faith, we too obey.